For some people, Metal Gear Solid 2 is not just a video game, it's an experience, an existential crisis. Some people is me. This is what happens when a Japanese auteur looks at the concept of sequels and says, take this instead. And I got to play it for the first time. Now, if you watch my video on playing the first Metal Gear Solid, you'll already know the score. I went in expecting just a goofy PS1 game, and I left a changed man. I'd highly suggest that you stick around until the end of the video, where I'll be revealing something about that first video that you won't want to miss. That game aged like fine tactical espionage wine. So naturally, I thought, surely the sequel will just be more of that, but shinier, and better graphics maybe. I was not ready for the level of plot twists, but the game said, too f***ing bad. If you haven't seen the first video yet, pause this one, go watch it, compose yourself, and then come back. Let's hop in the time machine. It's 2001. The PlayStation 2 is quite the cultural monolith. DVDs are thought to be the future. Nu metal is still in full swing. And Metal Gear Solid 2 drops with a genetic makeup so impressive it felt like it came from the future. Water physics, dynamic lighting, rain interacting with surfaces, individual ice cubes melting in real time. Bloody ice cubes. In 2001, Kojima said, "You will watch this ice cube melt, and you will like it." And you know what? It seems like people did. The tanker chapter is the perfect prologue. You're back as Snake, obviously. He's older, cooler, now voiced with that slightly more grizzled energy. Everything feels like Metal Gear Solid, but tenfold more evolved. You can knock over buckets. F***ing buckets. We're living in the future. As for the updated features, here's a little comparison. In Metal Gear Solid 1, you had a fixed camera for the most part, pretty limited guard AI, clunky aiming, environments were mostly static. In Metal Gear Solid 2, there was full dynamic analog movement, first person aiming, smarter AI, the enemies now call for backup, bullet holes remain where they impacted, you can hang from railings and even hide in lockers. The jump from PS1 to PS2 here isn't incremental. It's pretty generational. Metal Gear Solid felt like discovering fire. Metal Gear Solid 2 feels like discovering space travel. Speaking of discovery, don't forget to subscribe and drop a like if you're feeling sneaky.
Snake!
As you load into Chapter 2, you see a white-haired protagonist. You think, nice, Snake's got a new look. And then the game chimes in with a, "This is Raiden." What? And Snake is gone. Imagine what this would have been like back in 2001. No social media leaks, no Reddit spoilers, no character reveal reaction compilations. You would have bought this game to be Snake. You've always been Snake. And then suddenly, you're controlling this androgynous stranger named Raiden. The marketing never showed this. Surely, this was one of the boldest bait and switch moves in gaming history. Instead of a nuclear facility in Alaska, we instead get the Big Shell, an offshore cleanup facility that looks like someone tried to build a sci-fi car park in the middle of the sea. Shadow Moses felt isolated and oppressive, whereas the Big Shell feels artificial. It conveys the vibe that it's constructed and controlled. This is where Metal Gear Solid 2 really flexes its muscles. Enemy AI is now smarter. They can now search as coordinated groups. They've got the awareness to look for you in lockers, investigate bullet holes left behind, even react to footprints you make. It's like the living, breathing entities. You can now shoot out lights for concealment, hang off ledges and ambush enemies. Stealth seemed to evolve here. It wasn't just avoid cones of vision anymore. For a 25-year-old game, that's pretty advanced. I'm going to take a deep breath. I think I should briefly summarise the story before we all collapse into existential dread. Here's the headlines. The tanker incident was real. Metal Gear Ray is introduced. The Big Shell is actually a cover for the Arsenal gear. The Sons of Liberty terrorist group takes over. Solid as Snake wants to expose the Patriots. The Patriots secretly control information flow. Raiden's mission mirrors Shadow Moses. The entire event is a simulation, a socio-political experiment. The S3 plan. Selection for societal sanity. Or Solid Snake simulation. Or both. Mind f***. At the time, Metal Gear Solid 2 was one of the most expensive games ever made. This was a movie kind of budget. The marketing focused heavily on Snake. Raiden was deliberately hidden. I hear you asking why. Because Kojima wanted players to feel betrayed. He wanted to create the confusion of misinformation. He wanted players to confront their expectations. This wasn't a sequel supposed to comfort you. It was a sequel meant to interrogate you. This was in the time before Facebook and Twitter, before doom scrolling was a thing. He predicted information manipulation, digital echo chambers, and curated reality in a stealth game with a ninja. When the game launched, reception was divided, understandably. For the most part, critics praised it. Some players were confused, some felt angry and betrayed. Over time, its reputation shifted, and what once felt pretentious now feels like a prophecy. It showed that games can challenge the player's worldview. It was critical towards the concept of what sequels were meant to be. The mask finally slips. The game breaks. The kernel starts glitching, telling you to turn off the console, quoting random nonsense, breaking the fourth wall. This would have felt like your PS2 was possessed. Call an exorcist, or even Zach Bagans. In 2026, it's comparable to Netflix buffering. But the message still remains. Information without context is just noise, and data without fact-checking is chaos. Raiden is overstimulated with commands, just like the player, just like modern humanity. You might be wondering, what did I think of Raiden? Raiden wasn't Snake, but in retrospect, he's brilliant. Insecure, obviously manufactured, programmed by trauma, defined by someone else's legacy. He's what happens when you're told who to be by systems you've got no control over. The final act is somewhat controlled chaos. Naked Raiden, sword combat, AI kernel meltdown. Solid Snake finally shows up to bring a bit of normality, and everyone playing's like, what the f-? The Patriots are revealed to be an AI system managing society. The internet framed as a tool for narrative control, even before YouTube, viral misinformation, before influencer culture. The game saw it all coming. Metal Gear was more of a personal story. It had a tighter pacing, memorable bosses. Metal Gear Solid 2 is more about a meta-narrative. It's about political deception. It's a philosophical overload. Metal Gear Solid is the emotional one. Metal Gear Solid 2 is the intellectual one. Both are considered masterpieces, just very different flavours. Playing Metal Gear Solid 2 for the first time in modern times is surreal, because we're living in its prediction, a world full of curated feeds, information warfare, narrative control. This wasn't just a game, it was a mirror held up to society, and it feels uncomfortably accurate and aware. For those of you that did stick around until the end, here's the big reveal I mentioned at the start of the video. When I made the first Metal Gear Solid video, I had already played both that and Metal Gear Solid 2. I'd already formed my opinion, and I knew what was going to come in this game. As some keen viewers might have noticed, the first video was actually mostly artificially scripted. It was a cookie-cutter general consensus that the majority of people would utter themselves about the game. Whilst I agree with mostly everything in that video, and I did tweak it to sound more natural, the script wasn't me for the most part. It was a bit of a social experiment. It was a bamboozle, rather like the plot of this game. Just a lot more low-key and not a budget of millions. It did seem to pay off though. I mean, that video's done really well. But it just goes to show that you can't trust everything you hear, see, or read to be authentic. If you enjoyed that one, drop me a like and a subscribe. Until next time.